Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. The video that you guys are about to watch is a video about actress Heche, who unfortunately passed away earlier this month after being involved in a car crash. Now this video is targeted more towards her personal life, and I do want to be clear that the things that I discussed in this video, they are more from Anne's recollection of how her life went. This is more kind of like a documentary style video based more on her personal life. And where I got this information was from excerpts from her book, various interviews that she did. Because Anne, openly spoke about abuse from her father and mental health, and she talked about a lot of things that I think some people would just automatically think that she was lying. So I just want to be clear that when I talk about these things and I say that, she said her father did X, Y, Z, everything is coming from Anne Heche's version of events of what took place in her life. It is not me as the creator saying that this is actually what happened, that this is what it was. This is what we know based off what she is saying, and you can decide for yourself, what you believe. But the video, I worked very, very hard on it, you guys. I worked for days and days and days on this video. And Anne Heche definitely, in my opinion, had a very difficult life, especially early on. She dealt with a lot of trauma. And in my opinion, it led her to a path of kind of destruction. Even when it seemed like maybe she was doing well, she may not have really been doing well. And that's the reason that I wanted to do this video, just to kind of highlight the trauma that she went through, how her life was throughout the relationships that she had, and how that also played into her trying to mask her pain with drugs and things such as that. And like I said, in my opinion, led her down this path of destruction, which ultimately led to her death. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please leave me your thoughts in the comment section below. Also, huge trigger warning on this one. This video will be discussing sexual abuse, drug use. There will be photos in this video of the car, of the house after the crash. So just be cautious of that. If that is something that you do not want to see, you may want to skip out on this video. Either way, please leave me your thoughts in the comment section below. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in the next one. Anne Celeste Heche, an American actress who first came to recognition playing twins Vicki Hudson and Marley Love on soap opera's Another World, winning her a Daytime Emmy Award and 2 Soap Opera Digest Awards. She achieved greater prominence in the late 1990s with roles in the crime drama film Donnie Brasco. Anne was nominated for the Saturn Award in the late 1990s for the horror remake film Psycho. She received acclaim for her role in the television film Gracie's Choice, which earned her a Primetime Emmy Award nomination, and for her work on Broadway, particularly in a restaging of the play 20th Century, for which she received a Tony Award nomination. Anne had a long list of roles in her time as an actress. Her time on our screen started in 1987, when she was just 18 years old. While Anne was wildly successful, I would like this video to be focused more on her personal life. Anne was born on May 25th, 1969, as Anne Celeste Heche in Aurora, Ohio, to parents Nancy and Donald Joe Heche. Donald Joe and Nancy had 4 children apart from Anne. Abigail, Suzanne, Nate, and Cynthia were among Anne's siblings. Anne was the youngest. Donald Joe Heche, father of Anne Heche, was an American music and choir director who was not that active in the media scene. Nancy Heche, mother of Anne, is an activist and an author who wrote a book titled The Complete Christian Guide to Understanding Homosexuality, a biblical and compassionate response to same-sex attraction. Anne's mother embarked on a crusade against homosexuality after finding out that her husband was a closeted homosexual. Nancy's firm beliefs against homosexuality would later affect Anne's relationship with her mother. A sequence of traumatic events started in Anne's family before the star was even born, when her sister Cynthia died from a heart defect at just 2 months old. Cynthia was the second child to Nancy and Donald Joe Heche at the time. Nancy would give birth to Anne 8 years later. While tragedy struck the family before Anne was born, they would continue to be plagued by death and heartbreak. Filled with secrets, her family constantly moved as her father struggled to provide for them. Anne was born in Ohio but moved with her family to New Jersey before settling down in Chicago when she was still in her adolescence. In past, Anne had been very vocal about her relationship with her father and the terrible things that he did to her. Anne's father, Donald, became one of the first people in the United States to be diagnosed with acquired immune deficiency syndrome, better known as AIDS. This diagnosis not only stunned the Heche family, but ultimately exposed the truth of the Baptist minister and choir director living a secret life as a homosexual. In 2001, Anne Heche released her memoir titled Call Me Crazy, where she disclosed exactly how traumatic her childhood was. In her memoir, Anne exposed that her sexually addicted father was a closet homosexual who not only molested her, but also gave her genital herpes. Anne said that she was raped from the time that she was an infant till she was 12 years old by her father. In her book, she is quoted as saying, "He raped me, he fondled me, he put me on all fours and had sex with me." In a 2001 interview with Larry King, Anne told Larry, "I think my father was a sex addict. I think he saw everyone as a sexual being. And I think at the time, he was living a very flamboyant homosexual lifestyle." At the age of 45, Anne's father, Donald Joe, died from AIDS. Anne was 13 years old when her father passed away. Just 3 months later, Anne would lose her brother, Nate. Nate passed away in a car accident. Nate was only 18 years old at his time of passing. Anne has publicly stated that she believes her brother committed suicide by car crash. However, police reports stated that he fell asleep at the wheel and struck a tree. Early on, Anne started using drugs to deal with her trauma. "I drank, I smoked, I did drugs, I had sex with people, I did anything that I could to get the shame out of my life," the actress said. While appearing as a guest on Hollywood Medium, Anne revealed that the death of her father and her brother was the reason that her mother moved the family from New Jersey to Chicago. The amount of loss the family suffered was taking its toll, but unfortunately, it wasn't over yet. In 2006, Anne's older sister Susan would pass away from brain cancer. Unfortunately, Anne was estranged with Susan. At this point in her life, Anne's only living sibling was her sister Abigail. Anne and Abigail were also estranged and had been for several years. Anne's initial fallout with her sisters and her mother started when she came out with her relationship with Ellen in 1997. And would later lead to an estrangement when Anne lodged allegations of sexual abuse against her father. In Anne's 2001 memoir, Call Me Crazy, Anne wrote that when she contracted genital herpes as an infant, her mother insisted it was a diaper rash and refused to take her to the doctor. Nancy Heche was outraged by her daughter's claims, responding, "I am trying to find a place for myself in this writing, a place where I, as Anne's mother, do not feel violated or scandalized. I find no place among the lies and blasphemies in the pages of this book." Anne's sister Abigail added, "It's my opinion that my sister truly believes at this moment what she has asserted about her father's past behaviors." However, at the same time, I would like to point out that Anne in the past has expressed doubts herself about the accuracy of such memories. Based on my experience and her own expressed doubts, I believe that her memories regarding her father were untrue. And I can state empathetically, regardless of Anne's beliefs, that the assertion that our mother knew about such behavior is absolutely false. In 2011, Anne told the Daily Telegraph that she doubted that she would ever be able to repair her relationship with her mother. In that same interview, Anne revealed that she and her last living sibling, Abigail, had started to mend their relationship, saying, "We are having a wonderful time in our relationship as we are growing closer. We both decided to put our past problems in the past." Anne's family life was complicated, but she hoped she would find the love that she so desperately desired in a relationship and settle down with someone and have the family that she never had. Unfortunately for Anne, her love life would also be filled with confusion, sadness, and heartbreak. Anne's first public relationship was in 1994, when Anne was 25 years old. She began dating fellow actor-comedian Steve Martin. At the time, Steve was 49. The 24-year age gap caused the fans to question and criticize the relationship. The harsh criticism of Anne's first public relationship was something that Anne was not accustomed to. Up until then, Anne was praised for her acting skills and her beauty, so negative attention was difficult for Anne to handle. After almost 3 years of dating, Anne broke things off with Steve. Anne questioned if the abuse she suffered at the hands of her father was the reason she sought love from an older man. The same year that Anne broke things off with Steve Martin, she met and began dating Ellen DeGeneres. Some outlets report that Anne was still in fact dating Steve when she first met Ellen. Anne met Ellen in early 1997 at a Vanity Fair party. In 1997, same-sex relationships were still widely looked down upon. In an interview, Anne said that when she saw Ellen at the party that night, she was immediately drawn to her. Ellen told the Tampa Bay Times, "I met Anne at the Vanity Fair party, and it was a chemistry thing that you just really can't describe. It just happened. Obviously, I was attracted to her. She was so unique." Anne and Ellen were intimate the first night they met. Up until that point, it was the best sex I'd ever had. I felt cared for. I felt free to express a part of me that I had not been able to express with a man. I felt sensuous and sexual in a way that I hadn't before. While Anne and Ellen were having the time of their lives in their new relationship, they were keeping it a secret. Anne herself, already a Hollywood star, knew that if word got out about the relationship, it would cause an insane amount of attention that she wasn't sure she could handle. The reason this relationship would cause such a stir? Because her new girlfriend, Ellen, was famous in her own right. Ellen DeGeneres was already a household name due to her family-friendly sitcom titled Ellen, where she played a lead character, Ellen Morgan. The show had been running for 3 years and was a hit for ABC Network. Ellen had also been successful in the comedy circuit in the early 1980s, which led to an appearance on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. And in 1996, she starred in a romantic comedy, Mr. Wrong. Ellen's personal life and sexuality had been questioned before, but the star kept her personal life private. Anne and Ellen's whirlwind romance had the two feeling like their relationship was something very special. In Anne's book, she wrote, her name was Ellen DeGeneres. She was radiating. I think at certain times in people's life, you just radiate an energy and a glow of fabulous. And that was her. I had never seen anyone so lit up. Despite the fact that Ellen had dodged questions about her sexuality and Anne had only been in relationships with men, the two decided to come out with their relationship. Ellen's sitcom was in its 3rd year, and the star had considered coming out on the show in the past. Now that she had someone she wanted to go public with, the two decided Ellen coming out on her show would be a great way to introduce the idea of Ellen coming out to the public. After her character, Ellen Morgan, came out, she would then come out as gay with Anne. Preparations for Ellen's character to come out as gay on the show began. On April 30th, 1997, Ellen Morgan came out as gay. It sent shockwaves through the television industry. And up until that point, only a handful of gay characters had been seen on TV, and none of these were series leads. In addition to her character coming out in the episode, Ellen also publicly shared that she was gay and came out with her relationship with Anne. Many people were thrilled when news spread about Ellen and Anne coming out. Celebrity friends sent letters of support. However, the two would also face a ton of backlash. While Anne was expecting some, she had no idea just how bad the backlash would be. Hate mail immediately started pouring in, and Ellen's office would receive bomb threats. Reverend Jerry Falwell and televangelist Pat Robertson publicly mocked Ellen and Anne, describing the coming out episode and their relationship as a blatant attempt to promote homosexuality. The pair would face an uphill battle as their love became the subject of much public scrutiny. Anne and Ellen were the first Hollywood couple to come out as gay at that time, when many people were not accepting of same-sex relationships. Unfortunately, not only did Anne coming out cause backlash from the public, but her family as well. Growing up, Anne's family belonged to a fundamentalist church and once lived in an Amish settlement. Nancy Heche, a devout Christian and psychologist who uses her Bible in her counseling practice, saw Anne's coming out as a betrayal to the family. Nancy told the Christian Broadcasting Network that her daughter's relationship was like a betrayal of an unspoken vow, and said that we will never have anything to do with homosexuals. Anne has seen firsthand what homosexuality has done to this family. Anne and Ellen were hoping for acceptance from their family, friends, and co-workers. And while the relationship got some support, the backlash from the public and the disgust from her family had an overwhelming effect on Anne. Once again, Anne turned to drugs and alcohol to numb the pain she was feeling. The same year that Anne and Ellen went public, Anne was set to attend a red carpet premiere for her new film Volcano. Anne was advised not to bring Ellen to the premiere. In a 2018 interview, Anne spoke about what happened. The actress said, "I took Ellen. We were told that my contract would end and that I would be fired, and that the movie that I had just met Harrison Ford for, they wouldn't hire me on. So we went to the premiere. We were tapped on the shoulder during the third act before the lights came back on, and we were told to leave. Security escorted us back to Ellen's limo. We were not allowed to take pictures at the press junket. Both Ellen and I were fired that week." Anne and Ellen would ultimately call it quits in the year 2000 after dating for 3.5 years. In a joint statement, the two said, "Unfortunately, we have decided to end our relationship. It is an amicable parting, and we greatly value the 3.5 years that we spent together. We hope everyone will respect our privacy through this difficult time." One day after the split was announced, Anne showed up at a stranger's home in Fresno, California, in the midst of an emotional breakdown, requesting a shower and declaring herself God. The homeowners called the authorities. Anne told the police that she was looking for her spaceship. She was hospitalized following the incident, but only stayed for a short period. On 2020, Anne said that her mental issues came from a history of abuse by her father that caused her to compartmentalize into two personalities, the other being called Celestia. She explained, "I'm not crazy, but it is a crazy life. I was raised in a crazy family, and it took me 31 years to get the crazy out of me." Anne said that it was all that past building up that led to her breakdown after her breakup with Ellen. That and the ecstasy that she had taken earlier that day. As to what caused the breakup, neither Anne nor Ellen ever publicly said. However, Anne did later make comments saying that Ellen was extremely controlling, that she didn't want Anne to have friends, would not allow Anne to dress sexy when going to events, and that Ellen didn't want Anne to continue her acting career. Ellen has largely refrained from speaking about the relationship, but in a 2001 statement, she said, "I don't know what happened. She just left, and I haven't spoken to her since. I don't have any answers. I would love to have them myself. If I could ask all the questions that everyone else wants to ask, but I'm left wondering just like everyone else. I don't know. I really don't. I feel betrayed. This is the first time I've ever been left brokenhearted without answers." Ellen's only comment left fans believing that she was heartbroken and loved Anne desperately. However, Anne later spoke about how she was essentially blacklisted from Hollywood after breaking things off with Ellen. Anne stated on her podcast, Better Together, that she would not do another studio film for 10 years after that relationship, despite being one of Hollywood's most talked about and sought out stars in the late 1990s and early 2000s. Anne was unable to get work after the split. Years later, Anne's friends in the industry started coming forward, telling her how they were threatened by Ellen and Ellen's people. Filmmakers allegedly received calls from Ellen and were asked not to cast Anne. Once Ellen started her talk show, it was said that any actor or actress that was brought in as a guest was warned not to bring up Anne if they were friends with her. And if they did in fact bring up Anne, the episode would not air and they would not be invited back. For the next 10 years, Anne would get work here and there in independent films. The pain brought on from being blacklisted was immense. Anne did the only thing that Anne knew to do, try to numb the pain. Ellen would go on to be extremely successful in Hollywood, but Anne would struggle to get roles. Eventually, she would settle for a quieter life. Attempting to move on, Anne began dating after she split with Ellen. Anne met a cameraman named Coleman LaFoon. Ironically, Coleman was working on a documentary about Ellen DeGeneres at the time that he and Anne met and started dating. Once again, the romance was a whirlwind. Anne hoped this new love could mend all the years of trauma and pain that she had been through. Anne and Coleman met, started dating, became engaged, and got married all in the same year. In March of the next year, Anne would become a mother for the first time. Homer LaFoon was Anne's first child. Anne was a doting mother who loved her son very much. For a few years, Anne thought she had finally created the family that she had never had. In March 2006, Anne and Coleman's marriage would officially be over. By the time her divorce was finalized, Anne would already be in a relationship with fellow actor James Tupper and be giving birth to her second son, Atlas. During her relationship to James, Anne described her and James as being eternally engaged, despite the fact that her marriage to ex-Coleman was barely over. While Anne and James never got married, they were together for 10 years. In the beginning of their relationship, both spoke of their extreme fondness for each other. The two showed at the premiere, seemingly in love. They were pictured enjoying family outings on a regular basis. Things seemed to be going great for Anne and James, but eventually the fire in that relationship would also fan out and Heche would find herself again alone. In January 2018, Anne and James officially broke their relationship off after 10 years together. At 49 years old, Anne was a single mother who had become accustomed to numbing her past trauma any way that she could. But no matter how much she tried, she could never escape her past. Anne would go through the hardship of custody battles, first with Coleman LaFoon concerning her first son, Homer. In 2014, Anne lost full custody of her son. Coleman LaFoon gained full custody of him, and Anne was granted visitations and had to pay child support. In 2018, when Anne and James made the decision to end their relationship, they worked out their own visitation. The way that Anne and James had it set up, when Anne would spend her 2 weeks with their son Atlas, she would stay in the house. And when it was James's 2 weeks to stay with Atlas, he would stay in the house. That way their son never had to stay in a home that he wasn't familiar with or used to. Their plan worked for about a year and a half. But in November 2019, Anne Heche rushed through the courts to ask the judge for an emergency ruling so she and her son would not be locked out of the home in the future. In court documents, Anne claimed that James had changed the security codes and the keys. She said that he had planned to show the property to inspectors and put the home on the market. Anne accused James of trying to sell the property behind her back. James responded by telling the court that he hadn't changed the code in decades. He also denied changing the locks. He said, "I truly do not understand this drama, and I hope it isn't linked to Anne's extended drug use. Anne accuses me of denying her access to the house by changing the locks and alarm code. But this is absolutely false. I did not change the locks, nor did anyone else. This code works today, it worked yesterday, and has worked continually for a decade. I've never deactivated it, and on the night that she claims to have been cast out, her older son Homer had entered and spent the night at the property without incident. Obviously, if Anne wanted to get into the house, even if she had lost her key or somehow forgot the alarm code, she could have simply asked for her son to let her in. This would not be the only time that James and Anne would face off in court. They would continue to be at each other's throats for years over custody of their son Atlas. Not only did Anne's 10-year relationship with James Tupper come to an end in 2018, but she would come out to reveal that she was also one of the many victims of American film producer Harvey Weinstein. Anne went on a podcast where she alleged that Harvey Weinstein actually exposed himself to her and demanded oral sex. The time frame of the alleged incident was not stated. Anne also stated that she was fired from an unspecific Miramax film in retaliation. She also stated that there were many other incidents of sexual harassment that took place during her career, and stated that her survival of childhood sexual abuse had given her the strength to stand up to unwanted advances such as those made by Harvey. A spokesperson for Harvey Weinstein acknowledged that he had been friendly with Anne Heche, but denied all of her allegations. In that same year, 2018, Anne would join the television series Chicago PD in a supporting role. Over the next few years, Anne would live a relatively quiet life. She began dating fellow actor Thomas Jane in April 2019, but things wouldn't last long. By mid-2020, the two would call things off. In late 2020, Anne competed as one of the celebrities in the 29th season of Dancing with the Stars. Unfortunately, Anne will be eliminated after 4 weeks of dancing with her partner, Keo. Anne was deeply disappointed with the elimination because week 4 was the week that the stars would share something with the audience that happened to their life that was difficult to overcome. Anne spoke about what it was like to come out as bisexual in 1997, how her coming out affected her relationship with her family, how it affected her career. Anne also spoke about her experience of being blacklisted in Hollywood after breaking up with TV star Ellen DeGeneres. That night, a short clip played of Anne telling her story, and moments later, she would dance to Katy Perry's Rise. Anne's outfit that she wore that night symbolized the LGBTQ pride and the LGBT social movements. Anne was so upset to be eliminated after sharing such an important and emotional story that she walked out of the studio and right by the photographers, refusing to stop and answer questions like most of the other eliminated celebrities. The next morning, Anne appeared to have cooled off as she appeared on Good Morning America. She told viewers, "It's been a blessing to be on this show and to be able to tell my story and to be able to have a partner to tell the truth with and to learn with. Listen, I live in love, I live in truth, and I stood up for it 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and I stand up for this very same thing today." Later that evening, in an interview with Page 6, Anne explained why she was not happy to be voted off that particular week. She said the honest truth is that it took 20 years to process and share that story. So finally telling it and being voted off the same night was not the best feeling. It did feel good to tell my story and to show that we have come a long way and we see things with more acceptance now. Even though we are not all the way there yet, it's important to recognize how far we've come. Anne's career was starting to pick back up. By late 2020, Anne was working on a movie called 13 Minutes. She had also started a YouTube channel and a podcast alongside her friend Heather Duffy, and often seemed happy in her YouTube episodes. She would use her new social media platform to talk about a variety of things, from relationships to women's health to pronoun pride. Anne and Heather's YouTube channel description says, "Better Together with Anne and Heather is a space where guests introduce us to the person that makes them better. For me, that's my friend Heather. And that's why we are doing the shows together, because we are better together." Outside of films and short interviews, the world really didn't get much of an insight into Anne. But after starting her YouTube channel and podcast, fans got to see a side of Anne that they had never seen before. Anne was always positive on her YouTube channel. Even when speaking about the terrible things that happened in her life, she remained positive. She would explain how the events of her life led her to be a person of truth and appreciation. And it seemed to accept her past in a sense. However, on most episodes, Anne appeared extremely fidgety and would speak extremely fast, sometimes even slurred. Anne would occasionally post videos to her Instagram account, and she would receive comments from people asking if she was high or drunk. Anne was open in her book about turning to alcohol and drugs. Had this way to numb her pain become another problem for Anne? An addiction, perhaps? On August 5th, 2022, around 11 a.m., Anne would accidentally crash her blue Mini Cooper into the garage of an apartment complex in Los Angeles. Onlookers, growing concerned, would attempt to get her out of the car. However, Anne fled. Cameras caught Anne moving at a high rate of speed down a neighborhood road, and just seconds after Anne's Mini Cooper flew by, a crash could be heard. Anne drove straight into a nearby home and unfortunately ignited a fire. The fire reportedly engulfed the house, and Anne was rushed to a Los Angeles hospital by ambulance. The Los Angeles Fire Department shared a statement saying that the vehicle had a single occupant when it ran into a two-story home built in 1952. 49 firefighters took 65 minutes to access, confine, and fully extinguish the stubborn flames within the heavily damaged structure and rescue one adult female found within the vehicle who had been taken to a nearby hospital by the LAFD paramedics. A neighbor who was present at the time of the accident said that Anne sustained burn injuries but was conscious and breathing when she was placed on the stretcher. Helicopter footage captured the fire department extinguishing the blaze and loading Anne into an ambulance to be transferred for further care. Per the video footage, Anne was seen being wheeled out in a white sheet. Burn victims are often wrapped in a sterile sheet, and sometimes sterile water is applied to the sheet to cool the burns. The video footage shows Anne abruptly sitting up as the firefighters are loading her into the ambulance. Upon Anne being admitted into the hospital, doctors were able to run tests to see if Anne was under the influence while operating her vehicle. Initial reports came out stating that Anne was in stable condition. But just days later, her representative would come out to say that she had suffered a brain injury and was not expected to live. On August 12, 2022, Anne was declared dead, but remained on life support for the purpose of donating her organs, as was her wish. Just 2 days later, on August 14th, after finding recipients for her organs, Anne Heche was taken off life support. Anne Heche's tragic death was ruled an accident. According to the LA County Medical Examiner, the actress lost her life due to smoke inhalation and thermal injuries. Reports also cited a sternal fracture due to blunt force trauma as another significant factor that contributed to her passing. Lab results that were taken at the time that Anne was admitted into the hospital would come back to show that Anne did have narcotics in her system at the time of the accident. Family, friends, and co-workers would all speak out on social media, send in their love and prayers. Anne's best friend and business partner, Heather Duffy, was caught leaving the hospital by photographers. As she made her way to her car, Anne's oldest son, Homer, approached her. They were photographed hugging. Anne's son Homer was on his way to go visit his mother. Throughout the next few days, Anne's family, which would be her boys and her only living sister Abigail, would come to the hospital, as well as a few friends. At the time of Anne's accident, her friends were more her family. She had a good relationship with her boys, Homer and Atlas. Her problems with James and Coleman were a thing of the past. Anne had a great relationship with her boys. She was no longer fighting with their fathers, but unfortunately, her relationship with her mother was never reconciled. Anne had reestablished a relationship with her sister Abigail, and over the years, the two formed a decent relationship. Anne's representative confirmed her death to People on Friday, saying, "Today we lost a bright light, a kind and most joyful soul, a loving mother, and a loyal friend. Anne will be deeply missed, but she lives on through her beautiful sons, her iconic body of work, and her passionate advocacy. Her bravery for always standing in her truth, spreading her message of love and acceptance will continue to have a lasting impact." Anne's oldest son, Homer, also shared a statement saying, "After 6 days of almost unbelievable emotional swings, I am left with a deep, wordless sadness. Hopefully my mom is free from pain and beginning to explore what I like to imagine as her eternal freedom." Anne's former Dancing with the Stars partner, K.O., shared a parting message to Anne on Instagram. Alongside a broken heart emoji, he wrote, "I love you," at Anne Heche. He also shared a series of videos on his Instagram story from their time on the ABC's dance competition show. "Love you, lady," he wrote beside one of the photos of them together in matching yellow attire. Dancing with the Stars judge Carrie Ann Inaba wrote, "Heartbreaking. She was so special, such a pure and vulnerable free spirit. I'll always remember her with joy, dancing on Dancing with the Stars in the rainbow costume, sharing her story so honestly. That's why she was such a good actress. She couldn't help but be honest and open. May she rest and play in peace and joy." Tyler Henry, the Hollywood medium, also paid tribute in a tweet saying, "I'm deeply saddened to hear of the passing of Anne Heche. Her actions as a result of her addiction don't make her any less deserving of compassion. She went through extraordinary struggles and shared that vulnerability. Check on your loved ones who struggle with addiction." Anne Heche's ex, James Tupper, shared a photo of the actress hours before her death. "Love you forever," he captioned the photo, alongside a broken heart emoji. Anne Heche's Better Together's podcast co-host, Heather Duffy, on Wednesday, penned an emotional tribute. "I had to take a moment to begin to process the profound loss of my beautiful friend with the kindest soul I've known." Anne was joyful despite all the challenges that she faced in her life. She was truthful despite being in a business that is make-believe. Spreading love and kindness in the world is what mattered most to her, even if, at times, the world did not give it back. Her public stand for equality empowered many LGBTQ+ people worldwide to see a future where they could live in their truth, which mattered to her more than anything. We've come a long way because of her truth, bravery, and kindness in that moment 25 years ago when she chose to bring a woman as her date to the premiere of Volcano. Anne was way ahead of us, and we are all just catching up. Fly free, my friend. This world was never meant for one as beautiful as you. Anne Heche was cremated, and her ashes were placed in a mausoleum at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery nearly 2 weeks after she was declared brain dead at the LA area hospital from injuries she suffered during her car crash. Anne Heche was just 53 years old. In a statement to the Associated Press, Homer LaFoon said he and his brother Atlas Tupper are convinced our mom would love the site we have chosen for her. It's beautiful, serene, and she will be among her Hollywood peers. The cemetery, in recent years, has become a cultural hub for film screenings, musical performances, and festivals. Homer said he loved the vibrancy of the location, and he took it as a sign that his mother should be there. In a statement, he said, "Hollywood forever is a living place. A small private memorial will be held for Anne once her headstone is etched.